I left my reading glasses on the kitchen counter after Sunday brunch with my daughter. That one careless moment was the beginning of everything I thought I knew crumbling into dust. But before I tell you what happened when I went back for them, let me tell you who I was before that morning changed me forever. My name is Ruth Ann Calloway, and for 41 years, I was a pharmacist in the small town of Cedar Mills, Ohio. Not just any pharmacist. I owned Calloway Family Pharmacy, the only independent drugstore left standing after the big chain swallowed up everything else in the county. 3 generations of families trusted me with their prescriptions, their questions, their secrets. I knew which teenager was on antidepressants before their parents did. I knew which marriages were struggling by who picked up the sleeping pills. I knew this town, and this town knew me. When my husband Harold passed 6 years ago, I thought about selling. The offers came fast and heavy. Corporate buyers with slick presentations and numbers that made my accountant's eyes water. But I couldn't do it. That pharmacy was Harold's dream before it was mine. We built it together, raised our daughter Carolyn in the back office while we counted pills and counseled worried mothers. Selling it would have felt like erasing him completely. So I stayed. At 67 years old, I still opened the store at 7 every morning, still remembered every regular customer's name, still believed that personal service meant something in a world going digital. That Sunday was supposed to be a celebration. Carolyn had called earlier in the week, her voice bright and insistent. She wanted to host brunch at her house to celebrate my upcoming birthday and what she called my transition planning. Her husband Marcus had been promoted to regional manager at his insurance company, and they had just finished renovating their kitchen. She wanted to show it off. I drove the 20 minutes to their subdivision, the kind of neighborhood where every house looks almost identical and the lawns are too green to be natural. Carolyn greeted me at the door with a hug that felt slightly too long, slightly too tight. Marcus stood behind her, smiling that smile he always wore, the one that never quite reached his eyes. The brunch was beautiful. Eggs Benedict, fresh fruit, mimosas in crystal flutes. Carolyn had gone all out, but something felt wrong from the moment I sat down. Not wrong in a loud way, wrong in a quiet way, like the hum of a refrigerator that's about to fail. They kept steering the conversation toward the pharmacy, toward my health, toward the future. "Mom, you've been looking tired lately," Carolyn said, refilling my mimosa without asking. "Are you sleeping okay?" "I've noticed you've been more forgetful," Marcus added, his tone dripping with concern that felt rehearsed. "Last week you called Carolyn by her middle name. You never do that." I frowned. I didn't remember doing that at all. "The pharmacy is a lot for one person," Carolyn continued. "We've been talking, and we think it might be time to consider your options. Not selling, necessarily. Just restructuring. Letting someone else handle the day-to-day so you can enjoy your life." I looked at my daughter. At the face I had loved since the moment the doctor placed her in my arms. She looked so earnest, so worried, and I wanted to believe her. "I'll think about it," I said. The words tasted like surrender. When brunch ended, I hugged them both and drove home. It wasn't until I was halfway there that I realized my reading glasses were missing. I had set them on the kitchen counter while I helped Carolyn load the dishwasher. I sighed, irritated with myself for proving their point about forgetfulness, and turned the car around. The drive back took 15 minutes. When I pulled into their driveway, I noticed Marcus's car was gone. Good. I could grab my glasses and leave without another concerned lecture. I rang the doorbell. No answer. I tried the handle. Locked. I was about to leave when I remembered the spare key Carolyn kept under the ceramic frog by the garden hose. A silly hiding spot, but she insisted it was convenient. I retrieved it, let myself in, and called out, "Carolyn, it's just me. I forgot my glasses." Silence. I walked toward the kitchen, my footsteps echoing in the too-quiet house. That's when I heard it. Voices. Coming from the basement. I stopped. The basement door was slightly ajar. and I could hear Carolyn's voice clearly. She was on the phone. "The timeline is perfect," she was saying. "Another few weeks and she won't be able to manage the store at all. The doctors already think it's early onset dementia. No one's going to question it." My blood turned to ice. "The powder dissolves completely in anything acidic," she continued. "Orange juice, mimosas, coffee with lemon. She doesn't even taste it." Marcus figured out the dosage. Enough to cause confusion and tremors, not enough to flag anything suspicious. By the time we file for conservatorship, she'll be signing whatever we put in front of her. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't move. My own daughter's voice, casual and confident, describing how she was poisoning me. "The pharmacy alone is worth $2 million. Easy. Plus the property, the house, her accounts. Marcus says we could have everything transferred within 6 months. If we play this right." I backed away from the door, my heart pounding so hard I was certain she would hear it. My hands shook, my vision blurred. Not from whatever they had been giving me, from tears I refused to let fall. I made it to the front door, slipped outside, and sat in my car for a long time, staring at nothing. The woman who had just described poisoning her own mother was the same little girl who used to fall asleep in my lap during thunderstorms. The same teenager who cried when her goldfish died. The same daughter who held my hand at Harold's funeral and promised she would always take care of me. I drove home in a fog, but somewhere between their house and mine, the fog began to lift. Grief was there, heavy and suffocating. But underneath it, something else was growing, something sharper. I was a pharmacist. I understood medications, compounds, interactions. If someone was poisoning me, I could prove it. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat at Harold's old desk, the one I had never been able to give away, and I made a list. Every symptom I had experienced in the past 3 months. Tremors in my hands that came and went. Moments of confusion that felt like walking through water. Fatigue that hit suddenly and lifted just as suddenly. I had blamed stress, grief, age. But age doesn't follow patterns. Poison does. The next morning, I went to the pharmacy early. I had a key to the back lab, the one we used for compounding specialty medications. I took my own blood sample. Hands steadier than they had been in weeks. Maybe because the anger had burned away the fear. The analysis took hours. I ran it twice, then 3 times. The results were consistent. Traces of a benzodiazepine compound, modified slightly. Something that would cause disorientation and memory gaps without triggering standard drug screens. Someone had done their research. Someone who had access to medical knowledge, or at least to someone with medical knowledge. Marcus's sister was a nurse practitioner. The pieces clicked into place with sickening clarity. I sat in the empty pharmacy, surrounded by the pills and bottles I had dedicated my life to understanding, and I let myself feel the full weight of what my daughter had become. Then I dried my eyes, locked away the evidence, and began to plan. The hardest part was pretending nothing had changed. I answered Carolyn's calls with the same warmth I always had. I accepted her invitations to dinner, though I touched nothing she prepared. I complained about my memory getting worse, about feeling unsteady, about maybe needing to consider their suggestions about the pharmacy after all. Each performance was a knife in my own heart, but I needed time. 2 weeks later, Carolyn invited me to a family dinner at a restaurant downtown. A nice place, she said, to discuss the future. Marcus would be there, along with their lawyer, a man named Pritchard who specialized in estate planning and conservatorship cases. I agreed immediately. Let them think I was ready to surrender. The restaurant was called The Winslow, an upscale spot in a converted bank building with high ceilings and dim lighting. The kind of place where people go to feel important. Carolyn had reserved a private dining room in the back. When I arrived, they were already seated. Carolyn, Marcus, and Pritchard. A thin man with wire-rimmed glasses and a smile that reminded me of a shark. On the table were folders, documents, pens arranged neatly, They had come prepared for a signing. "Mom, you look wonderful," Carolyn said, standing to hug me. "I'm so glad you're here. Where else would I be?" I replied, letting my voice tremble slightly. "You're my family." The dinner proceeded with painful normalcy. Small talk about the weather, about Marcus's promotion, about a vacation they were planning. The documents sat untouched, waiting. Finally, over dessert, Pritchard cleared his throat. "Mrs. Calloway, I understand you've been experiencing some health challenges. Your daughter is concerned about your ability to manage your affairs independently. We've prepared some paperwork that would allow her to assist you during this difficult time." I looked at the documents. Power of attorney, health care proxy, a preliminary conservatorship petition. "I see," I said quietly. "And if I sign these, what happens?" "Nothing drastic," Pritchard assured me. "Carolyn would simply have the authority to help manage your business and finances. You would still be consulted on major decisions, of course." "Of course." The lie slid off his tongue like oil. I picked up the pen. My hand trembled. I let it tremble. "Mom, it's for the best," Carolyn said, leaning forward. "You know how much I love you. I just want to protect you." I looked at my daughter. At the face I had loved for 42 years. At the eyes that held no love at all, only impatience and greed. "Before I sign," I said slowly, "I need to use the restroom. My stomach has been bothering me. All that rich food." Carolyn's smile flickered with annoyance, but she nodded. "Of course, take your time." I stood, steadied myself on the table for effect, and walked toward the door. In the hallway, I turned left instead of right. Not toward the restroom, toward the small office I had noticed when we arrived. The restaurant manager was a woman named Patricia, early 50s, with kind eyes and efficient hands. I had called her 3 days ago, after researching the Winslow's reputation and security systems. Private dining rooms at the Winslow had cameras, discreet but comprehensive. Patricia had been skeptical at first, but when I explained what I suspected my daughter was doing, her expression hardened with recognition. "My mother had Alzheimer's," she had told me. "My brother tried to take everything from her while she was still alive. I know what that looks like." Now, Patricia met me in the hallway as planned. "It's ready," she whispered. "Audio and video, crystal clear." "Thank you," I said. "I won't forget this." "Give them hell," she replied. I returned to the dining room with a different kind of tremor in my hands. Not weakness, anticipation. "I'm sorry," I said, settling back into my chair. "Where were we?" "The documents," Pritchard prompted, sliding them toward me. I picked up the pen again, held it over the signature line, then I set it down. "Actually," I said, "I have some documents of my own I'd like to share first." I reached into my purse and pulled out a folder. Inside were lab results, bank records, a timeline of my symptoms correlated with every meal I had shared with my daughter in the past 3 months. "What is this?" Carolyn asked, her voice tight. "Evidence," I replied, "of the compound you've been putting in my food. A modified benzodiazepine designed to mimic dementia symptoms. Clever, really. Almost untraceable in standard tests. But I'm not a standard tester, am I? I'm a pharmacist, and I know exactly what you've been giving me." The color drained from Carolyn's face. Marcus shifted in his seat. Pritchard looked between them, confusion giving way to alarm. "Mom, I don't know what you're talking about," Carolyn said. But her voice cracked. "You're confused. This is exactly why we're worried about you. Am I confused?" I leaned forward. "Then let me clarify. 2 weeks ago, I came back to your house for my reading glasses. You didn't hear me come in, but I heard you. Carolyn, I heard every word you said on that phone call. The powder dissolves completely in anything acidic, enough to cause confusion and tremors. By the time we file for conservatorship, She'll be signing whatever we put in front of her." Carolyn's mouth opened and closed. No sound came out. "I've spent the past 2 weeks gathering evidence," I continued. "The lab results, financial records showing Marcus researching the pharmacy's value, communication between Marcus and his sister about the compound. I've also filed a report with the state pharmacy board and consulted with an elder abuse attorney." I paused, letting the words sink in. "But that's not all." I pulled out my phone and held it up. "This restaurant has security cameras in every private dining room for liability purposes. Right now, Patricia in the manager's office is watching everything we're saying, recording everything we're saying. So, please, Carolyn, tell me again how confused I am. Tell me again how you just want to protect me." The silence was absolute. Pritchard pushed back from the table, his face pale. "I had no knowledge of any of this," he said quickly. "I was told this was a standard estate planning matter. I want that on the record." "Then leave," I said. "Your services are no longer required." He gathered his papers and fled without looking back. Now it was just the three of us. The family Carolyn had been so eager to protect. "Mom, please," she whispered. "We can work this out. I made a mistake. Marcus pressured me. I never meant for it to go this far." "A mistake?" The word came out sharper than I intended. "You poisoned me for months. You watched me doubt my own mind, my own sanity. You would have locked me away in some facility while you sold everything Harold and I built. That's not a mistake, Carolyn. That's a betrayal so deep I don't have words for it." Tears streamed down her face. Real tears. I recognized them. I had dried those tears 1,000 times when she was small. But I didn't reach for her now. "The police are waiting outside," I said quietly. "I called them before dinner. They have copies of everything. My attorney is meeting them with the full documentation. What happens next is out of my hands." Marcus stood abruptly, panic flashing across his face. "This is insane. You can't prove anything. It's your word against ours." "No," I replied. "It's evidence against denial, and evidence wins." The door opened. 2 officers stepped in, their expressions professional and unreadable. "Carolyn Whitman, Marcus Whitman, you're both under arrest for elder abuse, fraud, and attempted poisoning. You have the right to remain silent." I watched them lead my daughter out in handcuffs. She looked back at me once, her face a mask of shock and desperation. "Mama," she said. Just that one word. The word she hadn't used since she was a child. I didn't answer. Some words come too late to mean anything. The weeks that followed were the hardest of my life. Harder than losing Harold. Harder than any challenge the pharmacy had ever thrown at me. Because grief for the dead is clean in its own way. Grief for the living is something else entirely. Carolyn and Marcus were charged with multiple felonies. The investigation revealed that Marcus had been planning this for over a year. Researching the pharmacy's value. Consulting with developers who wanted the property for a strip mall. Coordinating with his sister on the chemical compound. Carolyn had been a willing participant. Motivated by debt I never knew she had and resentment she had hidden for decades. The trial was brief. The evidence was overwhelming. The security footage from the restaurant, combined with my documentation and testimony from Patricia and others, left no room for doubt. Carolyn received 8 years. Marcus received 12, his prior financial crimes adding to the sentence. I did not attend the sentencing. I had said everything I needed to say. The pharmacy remained mine. I hired a young pharmacist named David to help with the daily operations. A quiet man with steady hands and genuine compassion for the customers. He reminded me of Harold, though I never told him that. I share this story not because I want pity, not because I want people to tell me how strong I am. I share it because somewhere right now, there's another mother ignoring the warning signs. Another grandmother blaming age for symptoms that have a darker cause. Another elderly person being slowly erased by the people who should love them most. Trust is not something we owe to anyone, not even family. Love is not a contract that requires us to accept harm. And age, despite what the world tells us, is not a weakness to be exploited. It is wisdom. It is experience. It is the clarity to see what others hope we're too tired to notice. My daughter thought she knew me. She thought grief and age had dulled my mind, softened my resolve. She forgot who taught her to read, who held her through nightmares, who built a business from nothing while raising her alone when Harold worked double shifts. She forgot that the woman she tried to erase was the same woman who made her. I am 70 years old now. The pharmacy is thriving. The poison has left my system completely, and my mind is sharper than it's been in years. Some nights, I sit in Harold's chair and wonder where I went wrong, what I missed, how the little girl who loved me became the woman who betrayed me. I don't have answers. Maybe I never will. But I have this. My name, my work, my truth. And no one, not even my own blood, will ever take that from me again. If you're watching this and something feels wrong in your own family, trust that feeling. Don't let love blind you to danger. Don't let age make you doubt your own instincts. The people who want to silence you are counting on your trust. Don't give it to them until they've earned it. And if they betray it, don't be afraid to fight back. Because you are not too old to defend yourself. You are not too weak to see the truth. And you are never ever too far gone to reclaim your own life. I didn't survive by becoming someone else. I survived by remembering who I had always been. A mother. A pharmacist. A woman who built something worth protecting. And when they came for everything I loved, I protected it. So can you.